Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Now let's get into the video. A lack of confidence is something we all face at some point in our lives, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So in this video, we're taking a look at how to be confident in any situation. But before we begin, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Number 7. Embracing imperfections. There's no easy or quick way to become immediately confident, but there are some tips that can help you in your journey. One of the main things you have to remember on your journey towards becoming more confident is the fact that not a single person on this earth is completely perfect. Every single person around you has some sort of imperfection that they would like to rid themselves of. This is necessary to keep in mind, because once you do that, it will become easier for you to embrace your own imperfections. Since we're taking the example of Pete Davidson, let's talk about how he handled one such situation where his imperfection was brought up by others. When he was dating Ariana Grande, he talked about his experience walking down the street with her. He said that people tipped their hats towards him and said that he gave them all hope, since he wasn't as good looking as Ariana was. While he was talking about this, he was smiling the entire time. This is how you should also try to embrace certain imperfections. Number 6. Making jokes about insecurities. Once you have started to accept the insecurities of your life, you can take it a step further by making jokes about them if they were ever brought up. That last part is important since you don't want to bring up your imperfections by yourself, since they can make others around you a bit uncomfortable. Take Pete Davidson for example. He once made a joke about how Kanye had brought him to a really expensive place, and that he didn't feel comfortable spending a huge amount of money. The way he talked about it made everyone around him laugh, and they were laughing with him, not at him, which is the goal many of us should aspire toward. He has also joked about not deserving the job that he had at SNL for 5 years. But again, since he was joking about it, no one felt uncomfortable about it. Number 5. Handling an embarrassing situation.
I've had a really weird year.
Imperfections come in many shapes and forms, and it is not only limited to the way you look. There are some athletes out there that are much healthier than you are, and that is a fact of life. There are some people out there that are born with certain health problems that can be a bit difficult to cope with. Believe it or not, Pete Davidson is one of those people. While he might not talk about it all that much, he suffers from asthma.
Does anybody else secretly hope that Kanye pulls a Mrs. Doubtfire?
While he was playing a physically intensive game with Kevin Hart, which was being filmed as well, he was suddenly struck with an asthma problem. As such, he had to take a break from the action and put on an oxygen mask. While he was breathing in oxygen, Kevin came to check up on him, and instead of being embarrassed by the situation, Pete ended up asking him whether they were still friends. This only made the situation easier to deal with, but it also helped put Kevin at ease. Number 4. Complimenting others.
What up, dude? What up, dog? Here we go.
Increasing your confidence is not only reliant upon you bettering yourself, but it can also help if you praise others around you. This might not immediately make sense, but the way it works is that if you make others around you happy, you in turn will feel happier about yourself, and that will result in you boosting your self-confidence. Pete showed this off by complimenting Robert Pattinson about his acting, and the way he smiled was extremely infectious. Remember, if you find the good in others, you end up finding the good in yourself. Number 3. Being nonchalant about insecurities.
Louis C.K. was hosting, and at the time, Louis C.K. was a very well-respected comedian.
While embracing insecurities is one thing, talking about them openly is a whole different ballgame. Accepting that you have flaws is just the first step in becoming more confident, and it takes a lot more practice to be good at talking about insecurities. Pete Davidson showcased how to deal with such a situation. He once dealt with 2 different insecurities in a single statement. While he was filming a segment for a sneaker purchase, he was asked about the sneakers on the wall and what he would be buying. He nonchalantly answered that he wouldn't be buying any sneakers since he was trying to conserve his money.
The other side of the elevators, so I could not, be in the way at all. And so I pressed the button, and I'm just waiting.
The immediate next thought would have been why he was doing so, which is why he continued on speaking. He said that he had a new set of temporary teeth put in his mouth, which is why he might be looking a bit weird, and that his permanent teeth would be arriving the next day. In this way, he talked about his looks and his finances in one statement without being embarrassed about it. Number 2. Laughing at supposedly offensive remarks.
Do you remember when that whole city pretended that kid was Batman because he was like sick?
As we've already mentioned, everyone has an imperfection that they would like to hide from the world. But there are times when those imperfections are brought to light by other people. It's important to know how to handle such situations because this is one of the keys in becoming more confident in daily life. Pete Davidson has a whole host of insecurities that he deals with, and one of them was brought up while he was talking with Machine Gun Kelly. They were doing a lie detector test, and during the test, Pete asked MGK whether he could be a good rapper. MGK straightforwardly said to him that he wouldn't be a good rapper.
You know, a mentally ill community college dropout who got a Game of Thrones tattoo.
Instead of Pete being offended by his remark, he laughed it off. Pete Davidson is a comedian, so he knows as well that he wouldn't be a very good rapper, which is why he chose to laugh about it instead of being hurt by it. He then proceeded to say that he didn't think that either, which was the truth of the situation. By doing so, he made an uncomfortable situation very comfortable, and he also ended up laughing things off instead of internalizing them like many do. Number 1. Being honest at times.
And like just have a good time. So that's how it came together, and he does a lot, you know, for firemen and a lot for the city. So
there are multiple ways that you can become more confident in your daily life, and one thing that might help you is the phrase, honesty is the best policy. In this day and age, it's hard to be honest about each other and everything in life, which is why everyone lies from time to time. But if you are ever faced with a tough question that might end up making you less confident, just go ahead and reply honestly to that question. Pete Davidson has mastered this particular art form, since he has been part of so many interviews over his long career. He was once promoting Mortal Kombat 11 on a show, where he was asked about why he was doing so. He first started off by saying that 11 was his favorite number, but then immediately switched to saying that the company had paid him a huge amount of money to talk about it. This was the complete and utter truth, and it diffused the situation immediately.
In your closet.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, yeah, that was really good. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
He then made a joke to lighten up the situation even more by saying that he was trying to get a helicopter to Coachella, jokingly implying that he was saving enough money to afford a ride in one. These were some of the tips on how to be confident in any situation. Pete Davidson has completely mastered this whole concept, and his type of personality is something we should all aspire towards having. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.